Peterson, and welcome to The Journey is Real. We talk to real people with real passions who share a real portion of their hearts. Today, my guest is Davy Jones, and his podcast is titled A Cartoonist's Journey, Ink, Sweat, and Tears. Thank you for coming on today, Davy.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, I'm excited to have you on. There's a couple reasons, which we'll get into in a little bit later. But you have a really cute comic strip called Charmey's Army. And I've read some of them, and I have to say, I'm a monkey person, so Flint is my favorite, despite the fact that you really can't understand what he's saying. I just absolutely love him. Can you tell us the unique story behind Charmey's Army?
Yeah, so Charmey's Army, as crazy as this may sound, was actually not supposed to be a comic strip. It was just an exercise to exercise the demons out of my head, because I have done so many comic strips over the last 30 years and sending them to syndicates and getting no responses whatsoever. So at one point I decided, you know what, I'm just going to make the ultimate worst comic strip that I can, get every single bad idea out of my brain, and then I will be done. I will have all the bad ideas out and only good stuff will come out, and all the characters I pull into whatever this next comic strip is going to be a really good strip. So I started working on this strip about a bunch of cockroaches, and because I was in a little restaurant, food was really nasty, and I was like, oh, it's got to be nothing but just roaches running all over the back kitchen room and just gross. I said, okay, gross, gross, gross. Can't get no worse than that. I'll make a strip about some cockroaches. And I'm sitting there doodling a cockroach at the table around everybody. And I
Like, what
started,
are you doing?
I know, why is he drawing roaches at the table? And I started looking at him. I go, but it'd be really even more gross if it was an ant, because they got that little ball on their butt. That's just so disgusting. Okay, yep. That's going to be maybe a bunch of ants. They can be army ants. So it started off with
Which are
just,
evil.
yeah, exactly. And everybody hates ants. And I said, well, that's perfect. This will be the worst thing I can do. So started working on that, added Weaver, and I was so excited. I got home and said, I can't wait. I'm going to make the worst comic strip ever. Boom, like that. I had 6 gags. And I said, this is great. They're just going to sit at a bar. Charmy's going to be drunk off his butt, and he's going to be pretending like he's got an imaginary girl with him. And it's going to be just dumb. Just one dumb joke after another. Make sure the jokes were really, really bad. Posted it and even made a Facebook page for it, and all of a sudden I had a big following. I was like, this is dumb. This makes no sense. So I kept
Why are you doing this?
I kept making dumb jokes after another.
People
And people were getting into
yeah,
people like weird.
Yeah, they do.
People like weird. They like stuff that makes no sense.
Exactly. Well, and people nowadays are probably starting to feel suffocated with the whole political correctness stuff.
Exactly.
That this
Cool.
is the release, and they can actually laugh on it. That's why comedians are doing so well.
Well, that's the problem. I was trying to make this as politically incorrect as possible. Some of the jokes were just like, woof, just crazy, silly stuff. And but they weren't really funny. I wasn't trying to be funny with it. And I said, what can I do to really make this thing back? So this is the exercise to get all the bad stuff out of my brain. I said, I know I'll add a monkey to it. And this is where Flint comes in. So Flint, a little history, he actually came from a comic strip I created when I was like in the 3rd grade. And it was called Monkey's Uncle. And it was about a little boy who had a little monkey that wreaked havoc and stuff. And I don't remember much about it because, again, it was in the 3rd grade. I remember my kids, my friends in school used to love it.
Yeah, I have the children's book series of Chief and Sarge, and we started off with Sarge, who is the monkey, and he can be a naughty little monkey, and he gets into all sorts of trouble. And Chief is kind of a little bit more mellow little brother, and so he kind of tries to keep Sarge out of trouble, but sometimes Sarge drags him into the trouble. But the beauty is they can get into places kids can't. So, for example, we went to the USS Kidd in Louisiana, and those little roped off areas, Chief and Sarge got in there. So when the naughty little monkey always seems to attract people because they're doing things, and like your comic strip is saying things that they want to say, but they're afraid to.
Exactly. And Flint was actually brought in to be this horrible character that you're not supposed to stand. He was actually brought in a bar scene where he ends up stealing Charmy's wallet at the end. The whole time he's being annoying and all this stuff. And at the end, they hug and embrace and they decide they like each other. He walks up and I think the punchline is something, he stole my wallet, didn't he? And that was the anyway, that was the ending of that strip. And I said, this is great. I made a character nobody can stand. The other thing is he was always going boop, boop, pop, pop, pop.
Mhm.
And I did on purpose because you were not supposed to understand him. It was, again, me trying to make a really bad strip. But again, people were Facebooking me and just telling me, oh my gosh, I love the monkey. It's just so crazy. No one can understand him. It's a genius. I'm like, no, it's not supposed to be
You're
genius.
like,
It's
what
supposed
is
to
wrong
be
with
bad.
people?
And it just kept going over and over. And I was starting to making some Comic Con appearances about that time. And I decided, okay, let's just try and do something different. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna base my Comic Con appearances on this strip that I'm trying to make that no one's supposed to like. And I added Frenchie, and so Frenchie came in and decided, let's make this make sense now. So now Frenchie can understand the monkey, but she's the only one that can understand it. So when he goes op op op, she reacts, whatever she says, and the reader can go, oh, okay, I understand what he's saying.
Now he's even more
And
naughty because they understand what he's saying.
exactly. So I started trying not to make stupid jokes. I started making good jokes, and then sent it to like 3 or 4 newspapers, and one of them picked it up immediately. And I went, well, this is crazy. Syndicates won't talk to me, but the newspapers will. And before I knew it, I think it was about 6 months into it, I had about 12 weekly papers running it. I'm
Wow.
only down to 2 right now because
No.
of the industry itself. Papers are just falling out, especially these little bitty weekly newspapers.
Mhm.
But at one time, I was up to 12 newspapers at one time, which was really, really cool.
But the beauty is you're balancing it between, it's not just the papers that you're in,
Hmm.
you're balancing it between, your website presence and your
Yep.
blog and the Comic Cons. So you're balancing it out and you're getting exposure on both sides.
Exactly. And another thing I had to do, now, since I was going to go and pitch these to the newspaper, I actually had a really huge redo right before I hit the newspapers up with some strips. So I took them out of a bar. They did no more alcohol. Had to be family friendly at that point in time. So I completely changed it up, and I actually started working on a strip that I could actually present to a syndicate again.
Mhm.
And still haven't got any responses from the syndicates, but I'm keep my fingers crossed because it's really, really getting popular. So I took all that element out, added some more characters around the characters, started coming up with all these alter ego characters. Like Frenchie has her warrior wench Wendy persona that she does on occasion, and that's been really popular. I get a lot of commissioner requests for her as warrior wench Wendy. I got one for Hill Country Comic Con I'm about to work on.
Nice.
And yeah, with her and one of her big dragons, it's gonna be really cool. And
Well,
then
I know, speaking of commissions,
mhm.
I did ask you before on another podcast you were on the Con Hour. I said, do you do commissions? And you said you did. And so you're going to be doing a commission for us with Chief and Sarge and the Serenity Acres crew. We're going to be combining, get this, people. I know you guys think that Star Trek is my favorite, which it is. It is up there. But Stargate is my ultimate favorite. And he's going to mash up the Serenity Acres crew with Stargate. And I will put it on Chief and Sarge's page once it gets here. So look forward
And
to that.
mashups that's a really key thing you mentioned too, because that's what really helped me out at the Comic Cons.
Mhm.
I do mashups of my characters and other stuff too. I'll draw whatever anybody wants, but the mashups of my characters with different characters from The Walking Dead all the way through the DC universe, and
Wow.
they're really fun. And I got pretty good at making them look just like the actors and stuff playing them, but still looking like Charmey or Weaver or whatever at the same time. And that's what I really love. The commission work I really love doing is the mashups. The straight up characters are fun, but I love a good challenge, and those always give me some really good challenges.
Well, this will be a good challenge because we were talking about it beforehand, and I know what the characters are going to look like.
That's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But back to Charmy and the different alter egos,
Mhm.
That really helped add that extra little dimension to my strip too. So that way, it's not always just the same thing back and forth. All of a sudden, boom, Goose or Dadburn can appear, and all of a sudden we're in the Wild West. And I did that because I'm a huge John Wayne fan. Right? When I was a little kid, my parents always made me sit down and watch the John Wayne movies with them,
We
and I
have
just
all of them.
just
How can you be a Texan and not have them? I mean, come on.
exactly he comes on the screen and you just go, that's a hero
The
right
man.
there.
There.
Yeah,
Now,
it's
you
amazing.
have not just the comic strips, though. You have, like, at the Comic Con, you have, like, the little singular pictures that
Yep.
you sell, but you also have, I understand, an actual comic book coming out.
Yes. So what I'm doing is a real cartoonist will do like treasury collections, like little annual treasury collections, and I want to do something that's a little bit more affordable because those things could be like $12, and I'm like, don't want to do something that's going to be too expensive, especially at a Comic Con where there's so many other things to purchase there. I don't want to pigeonhole somewhere where they buy that and all of a sudden they're hit up for cash trying to go other places. So I made a comic book, and I found that I can put like 5 strips on a page. It makes it a little small, but it's extremely legible,
Mhm.
and I can get 106 strips in one comic book, and it's great because that's exactly 2 years worth of comic strips from
Wow.
the weekly newspapers. So it worked out really well. So every 2 years I can do another treasury collection. Because of the
Now
pandemic last year, I didn't do one, but I'm working on one really, really hard and heavy right now, trying to get one done.
now, how long have you been doing Charmy's Army?
Uh, I'm on my 9th year of doing Charmy's Army
You
because
have a lot of
I
comic strips to draw from.
well, yes and no. I started it 9 years ago, and there's been some little hurdles back and forth because the story I told you about me making ad stuff that actually took probably about 4 years, four maybe even more than that, about 4 years of doing that because I would do it for a while, and then they have these little contests you can do and trying to get syndicated. And I started saying, well, maybe I could just go ahead and, even though I knew it was a really bad idea and everything, I submitted these strips, and it was immediately knocked out of the contest like the first couple of weeks. And then I go, oh, then I'd get all this made, and I take a little break, and I come back 3 or 4 months later and go, okay, well, I forgot I was trying to make a bad strip in the first place. So yeah, continue making a bad strip. And so that little piece of time took a lot of time. So there wasn't a lot of content created in that first 4 years, but the year and a half before I got my first newspaper gig, I was actually trying to do it like every single day to every other day back and forth. So I do have a lot of content that's actually from the internet years, and that's another book that I'm looking at making another one that's not tracking just the treasury collection from the print, but I'm actually going to go back and show some of the ones that are really bad. and that way you can kind
You
of
could
see
kind
the
of
journey
call
and
it
the
the band.
evolution.
You could kind of call it the band years or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Like bad years.
Well, actually, I thought about calling it basic training.
Oh,
So that way it's on based on the military kind of term. So it's like basic training, and it's me basically training myself to do a good strip.
now, did you always want to be a comic book artist? I mean,
Yeah, this is so crazy. When I was 4 years old, my grandmother would always put me on her knee on the weekends, and she'd get the Sunday paper on Sunday, and we'd sit in a rocker, and she'd sit there and read the comics to me. And I guess most kids would have said, "Wow, this is great. I want to read comics for the rest of my life." I was sitting there looking, thinking, "Wow, I, I'm so happy when I'm reading this. I want to make other people feel just like this. I want to make people feel happy. I want to make people laugh." And I'm just wired differently. I don't want to just be the one reading. I want to be the one actively doing something. And
you
I was 4 years old, and that's all I ever wanted to do was be a cartoonist. I
did
would
you
tell
like
everybody in high
taking a lot of?
school and everything, and they'd look at me like, "What? You're not gonna make any money."
It. I like it though. Did you take a lot of art classes and stuff through school?
It all came natural to me. Yes, I did. I was always in art classes and all through high school, and I went to RNC Houston for my college. But I was always in the art class. We only went in high school to art 1, 2, and 3, and they actually created an art 4 class for me so I could take a 4th year of art in high school.
Nice.
And it was just me and one other girl, and so basically, we merged the art 3 and 4 classes, and they did something different to the wording of it. So it sounded like it was a different curriculum than I had taken the previous year. So that way I can get another art credit in high school. It
Nice.
was a tiny high school, so it was easy to do stuff like that.
Though it works. It
Yeah.
works. So how did you had this comic strip idea. How did
Hmm.
you go from this very, very bad idea to into newspapers? Because you said they were kind of tossing you out left and
Yeah.
right.
Well, touching back on what I said, I have like about a year and a half where I started doing something different. And so when I started redoing the comic strip, before I hit that first newspaper up, I wanted to make sure that I could actually do something that was family friendly, taking them out of the bar, putting them in a little coffee shop, and just doing some different adventures, working and morphing their characters, trying to see what stuck and what didn't. And once I got something that I thought was actually very legible and something that could actually be attracted to the syndicates, that's the big key. If you want to get into a lot of newspapers, you got to get a syndicate to take your strip and
How do you
market
go
it and
about
pitch it.
how do you go
You
about doing that?
you send presentations in. I say I never get any responses. I did get a response from Go Comics. Uh, Goodness gracious, it was probably 4 years ago. It was right after I got into my first newspaper, and they gave me some encouraging comments and said, keep pitching it. And I said, great, and I keep sending stuff in, but I never hear back again. So I'm just, you gotta realize there's a lot of cartoonists out there. They receive a lot of submissions, so the chances of you actually getting a response is very, very slim.
But you just keep
It's really
persistence
tough.
is key, and you're good at marketing too, because we were
Yeah.
talking a little bit before we started about marketing. I do the marketing branding for Texas Sisters Press authors, and the consistency in marketing and you know getting out there and doing things. We talked about the
Hmm.
comic cons. Now, which comic cons? This is now July, so which comic cons do you have left for
Let me
2024?
get my list. I
He's
never
got a
can
list.
remember. It's not like I got a lot. It's just that I can never remember the date. So Comic Palooza is the first one. That is July 17th and 18th. Now, just a little background on Comic Palooza. That was the very first Comic Con I ever did. I remember walking into it with my six little prints, and that was it. And a box
You
full of
got to
little
start
character drawings I
somewhere.
did. Yeah, no tablecloth. And at that time, they didn't provide you with a tablecloth. So I had the most horrible looking table presentation set up, and I sat there and I think I sold 3 or 4 prints, and that was it the whole weekend. And I walked off going, okay, challenge accepted. I know what I got to
But
do
you
now.
learn because when you go there, you can walk around, look at the other tables, and you got
Exactly.
ideas and figure out, where do I go from here? There's a lot of artists, there's a lot of comic artists, there's a lot of, authors. I mean, pretty much people think Comic Cons are just cosplayers, and it's not. There
Mm-mm.
is all different types of arts. There's music. There are cosplayers, and some of them are phenomenal. I mean, like,
There, so some are really, really good.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
but you get a lot of really cool ideas that way. And the Comic Con community is extremely loyal. And if they see you enough time, they're like, oh, hey, they're serious about this. So they're going to take notice of you, and you will start to climb up the different ladders.
Exactly. The other thing I love about the Comic Con community is not so much just the people who are there looking around at everybody. It's also the people that are there building their brands and selling their wares and doing all this stuff. The other artists and artist alley are so nice. They love giving you pointers and helping you out. I'm the same way. Anybody ever sees something and wants to know the whole backstory, I'm more than happy to sit there and tell them, yeah, this is great, but this doesn't work. Or yeah, this is great, this does work, because a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
doesn't really work for some, but it may work for other art. Like some artists can sell prints all day long.
Mhm.
I don't sell a lot of prints, so everybody who comes to see me this year will notice that I'm not going to be selling my 11 by 17 prints anymore. I sell maybe 5 or 6 a show. It's just not worth the investment for me. So I'm taking those out. But my little bitty mini print cards sell extremely well. So I'm
Well,
keeping
save
the
a clip
little ones.
for me. I may
Yeah.
be at Comic Palooza, but I think you're going to be at Comic Conroe too, aren't you?
Yes. Yep. And that's my next one. So then the next one's going to be Comic Conroe. That's July 23rd and 25th. First year show. So I don't know anything about it other than I'll be there.
I'll be
And
there too.
yeah, they've got some really good names there too. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Guy Gilchrist is going to be there, and I know he's going to
Comic
be at Hill Country
Palooza,
Comic Con.
Kevin Sorbo will be there. DC
Yeah,
Glenn will be there. You're gonna be there. I'm gonna be there.
yeah,
The Con Hour crew.
yeah.
Aim.
You
I don't
can
know.
you can stop right there, and that's enough.
I know, right? We'll just have a big old fun time.
Yeah. And then after that, then I hit my road show. So I got Bell County Comic Con and Hill Country Comic Con. Those are both really fun shows. A quick story about Bell County. I remember the first year I got there and I got to Belton, Texas. I was kind of looking around going, this doesn't seem like a big city, which is bigger than I thought it was. It's pretty big. And I remember going and setting up, and it was like in a small little arena, the expo center down there. And I was just looking at it going, I just got this vibe. This is going to be one of those shows. I'm going to go, why did I do this one? And I remember going back to the hotel because I went the day before to set up, went back to the hotel, went to sleep, got up the next morning. I was driving back out there going, man, why did I do this show? I just got a feeling I just wasted my money. And I pulled up to the place, and around the expo center was this massive line of people going all the way around. And I said, yeah, why did I do this? I said, I know why. Because sometimes these little shows like this, in these little hungry communities that don't have that kind of an access to such a cultural event, really turn out in drones. And every year after year, that has ended up being one of my better shows. The one in Belton.
Especially this year with all of them being canceled from last year.
I know.
I mean, being a cosplayer myself, it's like you miss the entire cosplay community, and it's like you don't realize you miss it till it's gone, and it's just was very painful last year. So this year we have like multiple ones that we're going to be going to. One of them, which I think we're both going to, is Eastern Rim.
Eastern Rim's great too. Yep, and I'm doing that one. That's September 11th and 12th. I've done that every year as well, and that's really fun. That's one I know I'll be on a panel on. I love doing panels, by the way. And I'll also be on a panel more than likely at Hill Country Comic Con. They usually always set me up on a panel. And that's another one. Backing up real quick to Hill Country, that's in New Braunfels, Texas, and that's going to be August 14th and 15th. That's a really good show. Again, it's another little community where they don't have access to these kind of Comic Cons. They have them in San Antonio, but that's still about an hour drive out. So there's a big community there, and they had such a huge turnout for their first show a couple of years ago. They didn't have one last year because of the pandemic, but I did a panel there, and that's one of the best panels I did. Everybody stood up and cheered and everything at the end. It was amazing. Right. And yeah, then Eastern Rim will be coming up. Awesome. And hopefully next year BrazCon will come back. If anybody's never heard of BrazCon, it's a little Comic Con done by one of the high schools down here in the Brazoria County district, and I've never seen it's mainly kids, but they're very that's what I love most about Comic Cons is actually encouraging kids, especially with the art, with their art and everything. And that's all I did all day was just talk with kids and encourage them, and it's just really fun. And I did a panel there. It was wall to wall. Never had as many people as I've had in a panel in my life, and it was just very rewarding. Again, standing ovation at the end of the panel and stuff, and just makes you feel like you've actually touched somebody. And that's what I really like doing these shows, is actually coming out. A good show for me is not having a pocket full of money. It's knowing that I came out and I've got a lot of people that went to that show and they all came out happy. I've seen kids before who were just down about something and upset, and I'll just give them a free little print card off my table. Here's you know, here's a little card, a little autograph for you. And you can just see their face brighten up, and, you know, all of a sudden they went from having a bad experience to a good experience. And that's the memories I like coming out with after these shows are over.
Awesome. So people who want to find out more about you online and want to subscribe to your newsletter, which gets hint, little comic strips in it, how can they find you online?
Can you hear me over my dog barking? Okay. So online, I made it really simple. It's charmeysarmy.com. So it's CharmysArmy.com. And the same spelling for Facebook. On Facebook, it's just Facebook/CharmeysArmy, Instagram /CharmeysArmy, and Twitter /CharmeysArmy. I don't do a lot on Twitter, but everything has a little bit of a different base of content to it. Like the website, you can subscribe there, and every time I do a blog, then you'll receive my comic strip in your email. I also have on Instagram's fun because as I'm doing my comic strip and I'm sketching and drawing, I'll take little snapshots and post it online so everybody can see what's going on with as I'm working through my script.
Very cool. Okay, so have a quick announcement. We were talking beforehand, and Mr. J.V. Jones is going to take on the Serenity Acres crew and Chief and Sarge book for the next book. It's going to be a day at the racing, a lesson in friendship. So stay tuned for more on that later. But we have actually we're a little over time, so I'm going to give you a few more minutes. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, just looking forward to seeing everybody again at the shows because it's been about a year and a half since I've done a Comic Con, and I cannot tell you how much I really love doing those shows, especially from an artist standpoint. You know, we don't. The social reaches only go so far, so you don't see a lot of feedback a lot of times from your art that you post. And that's one thing I want to make sure that other artists out there who may be listening and getting discouraged because they don't see a lot of feedback on their posts that they do. I don't get a lot of feedback either. And it has nothing to do with your abilities. It's just the way the algorithms are set up. It's really hard to have everybody see your feeds when they see just hundreds of stuff in their feed every day. So going to these cons is a really good morale booster for me because I get to see people and they get to tell me, oh my gosh, I've been reading your strip for so long. I love Warrior Wrench Wendy. I love the strip where she did this or Charmey did this or that. And it makes you realize, oh yeah, people really do see my stuff. It's just that with social outreach, there's just so much communication you're going to get back.
Well, and there's nothing like hearing somebody appreciating your work because
Oh yeah,
as an author, it's the same thing as an artist. It's like you're putting your heart on paper, you know, whether it's drawing or painting or writing or whatnot, and you're just like kind of putting your heart there, going, please don't squish it, please don't squish it.
exactly.
You don't have to like it, just don't squish it. You know, and so when you can find somebody who actually appreciates it, it makes you feel really good inside.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking forward to tackling your project too. It's gonna be fun.
I'm excited. I want to not just the mashup, guys. He's going to be taking on Chief and Sarge's book. So
I always bite off more than I can chew. I love challenges.
Well, it's gonna be fun. I'm super excited about it. So you guys, thank you for coming on today, Davy. I'm pretty excited about everything that's going on. Again, I'm with you on getting back to Comic Cons. There's nothing like it. I am so excited that they're back. Good luck with your comic book. I'm really curious to see how that takes off. And good luck on getting into syndication. Again, for those who want to learn more about Davy Jones and Charmey's Army, you can find him at www.charmeysarmy.com. That's CHARMYSARMY.com. Like I said, thank you for coming on today, sir. And thank you guys. And thank you guys for listening to The Journey is Real, where we talk to real people with real passions who share a real portion of their hearts. I'm CJ Peterson of CJPetersonWrites.com. Until next time.